March 26, 2020. 11:47 a.m. The U.S. Department of Justice press conference began like any other. But when Attorney General William Barr announced the indictment of Nicolás Maduro and placed a $15 million bounty on his head, the room erupted. In Caracas, Maduro watched the broadcast and whispered to his security chief, "They just declared war on me." The Situation Room, White House, March 25, 2020. 6:15 p.m. President Joe Biden sat at the head of the table, surrounded by his national security team. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, CIA Director William Burns, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. On the screen in front of them, a comprehensive intelligence file on Nicolás Maduro. "Gentlemen," Biden began, his voice grave, "we've been patient with Venezuela. We've tried sanctions. We've tried diplomacy. We've tried supporting the opposition. Nothing has worked." He tapped the file. "Maduro has turned Venezuela into a narco state. He's working directly with cartels. He's flooding our streets with cocaine. And he's doing it while his own people starve." William Burns leaned forward. "Mr. President, we have confirmation that Maduro personally authorized at least 12 major drug shipments into the United States over the past 3 years. The DEA estimates 250 tons of cocaine entered through Venezuelan routes." 250 tons, Biden repeated. "How many American lives is that?" "Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands when you count overdoses, gang violence, and related crimes." Biden's jaw tightened. He'd lost his own son to illness, but he understood the pain of the families losing children to drugs. And here was a foreign leader actively profiting from that pain. "That's when everything changed. I want options," Biden said firmly. "Real options, not just more sanctions that he'll ignore." Attorney General Garland spoke up. "We have enough evidence to indict him. Drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, money laundering, conspiracy. We could issue an arrest warrant and put a bounty on his head." The room fell silent. "A bounty?" Blinken frowned. "On a sitting head of state?" "He's not a legitimate head of state," Garland replied. "He stole the 2018 election. We don't recognize his government. And legally, we can treat him as what he is, the head of a criminal organization." Biden looked around the table. "What's the precedent?" "Manuel Noriega," Burns said. "We indicted him in 1988 while he was still running Panama. 2 years later, we invaded and arrested him." "I'm not invading Venezuela," Biden said immediately. "That's off the table. We don't need to invade, sir," Burns continued. "We just need to make him a wanted man. Restrict his travel. Make every country think twice about harboring him. Turn his own people against him with the promise of a reward." But you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. The debate continued for 2 hours. Some argued it was too provocative. Russia and China would protest. It could destabilize the region. It might make Maduro more dangerous, not less. But Biden kept coming back to one thing: the drugs. The American families destroyed, the communities ravaged, and Maduro profiting from it all. "How much?" Biden finally asked. "Sir?" Garland looked confused. "The bounty. How much are we putting on his head?" Garland consulted his notes. "The DEA typically offers $5 million for major drug traffickers. But given Maduro's position and the scope of his operation, I'd recommend $15 million. $15 million, Biden said slowly. "For a sitting president. For a drug kingpin," Garland corrected. "That's what he is." Biden stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the White House lawn. He thought about the presidency, the weight of it, the responsibility. Every decision had consequences. Every action rippled outward. But he also thought about the intelligence reports he'd read. Venezuelan military planes landing in Honduras with tons of cocaine. Maduro's family members running money laundering operations. High-ranking officials personally meeting with cartel leaders. This wasn't politics. This was crime. And crime had to be punished. "Do it," Biden said, turning back to the room. "Indict him. Issue the warrant. Offer the bounty. And make sure the whole world knows we're serious." "Wait a minute, don't miss this detail." Burns cleared his throat. "Mr. President, there's one more thing. We have intelligence that Maduro has been planning his own contingencies. If we move against him, he might flee to Russia or Cuba. Or he might do something desperate." "Like what?" "Like releasing political prisoners to create chaos. Like authorizing more violence against protesters. Or," Burns hesitated, "like attacking American assets in the region." "He wouldn't dare," Blinken said. "He's desperate," Burns countered. "Desperate men do desperate things." Biden sat back down. "Then we move fast. We announce the indictment before he can react. We freeze his assets globally. We coordinate with every allied nation to deny him safe haven. We make the cage so tight he can't move without us knowing. He looked at each person in the room. And if he does attack American assets, we respond with overwhelming force. Make that clear in our messaging. This is law enforcement, not war. But if he makes it war, we'll finish it. The team nodded. How soon can we announce? Biden asked. The indictment is ready, Garland said. We can hold a press conference tomorrow. Then do it. And God help us if this goes wrong. Now what you're seeing is nothing. March 26, 2020. 11:45 a.m. Department of Justice. Attorney General William Barr stepped up to the podium. This was during the Trump administration. The timeline of the fictional story shifts here for dramatic purposes, but in our narrative, we'll continue with Biden's order being executed. Behind him stood the DEA administrator, the FBI director, and the head of Homeland Security investigations. Today, Barr began, his voice echoing through the press room. The United States Department of Justice is announcing the indictment of Nicolás Maduro Moros, the illegitimate ruler of Venezuela, on charges of narco-terrorism, cocaine trafficking, and weapons offenses. The room erupted with questions, but Barr continued. The indictment charges Maduro with leading a criminal organization known as the Cartel de los Soles, the Cartel of the Suns, which has flooded the United States with over 250 tons of cocaine over the past decade. He paused for effect. The State Department is offering a reward of up to $15 million for information leading to Maduro's arrest or conviction. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. The news spread around the world in seconds. In Caracas, Nicolás Maduro sat in his private office at Miraflores Palace, watching the broadcast on CNN. His security chief, General Padrino, stood beside him. 15 million, Maduro said quietly. They put a price on my head like I'm a common criminal. It's propaganda, Mr. President, Padrino said. They can't actually arrest you. You're protected by Venezuelan sovereignty. Am I? Maduro turned to look at him. Because right now, I'm worth $15 million. And there are a lot of people in this country who would love to collect that reward. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at Caracas. Somewhere out there, someone was already thinking about it. Maybe a military officer tired of the regime. Maybe a bodyguard deep in debt. Maybe even someone in this very palace. You won't believe this, but double the palace security, Maduro ordered. No one gets close to me without 3 levels of clearance. Background check everyone again. I don't care if they've been with us for 20 years. And start monitoring phone calls. All of them. Sir, that's $15 million, General. That's more money than most Venezuelans will see in 10 lifetimes. Someone will try. I need to be ready. Padrino nodded and left to make the arrangements. Alone in his office, Maduro looked at his reflection in the window. A wanted man, a fugitive, a criminal with a price on his head. Everything had changed in one press conference. Within 24 hours of the announcement, the global manhunt machinery activated. Interpol issued a red notice for Maduro. Every international airport received his photo. Border control systems flagged his passport. Financial institutions froze accounts linked to him. But more importantly, the bounty activated something else: human greed. In Caracas, a mid-level military officer named Colonel Roberto Mendez sat in his apartment, staring at his computer screen. The State Department website showed Maduro's photo and the number, $15 million. Roberto did the math. At the black market exchange rate, that was. He couldn't even calculate it. Enough to live like a king anywhere in the world. Enough to set up his family for generations. He'd served Maduro loyally for 8 years. He knew the palace layout. He knew the security protocols. He knew Maduro's schedule. And he knew exactly how to get to him. But the really shocking thing is, Roberto wasn't the only one thinking about it. In the palace kitchen, a chef named Maria calculated her own chances. She served Maduro his meals personally. One poison, one moment of courage, $15 million. In the Presidential Guard, Lieutenant Vargas thought about the GPS tracker he could plant in Maduro's car. The Americans would do the rest. $15 million. In Maduro's own cabinet, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino sat in a secret meeting with 3 other generals. They didn't discuss the bounty directly. They didn't have to. It hung in the air between them like a loaded gun. If something were to happen to the president, one general said carefully, the military would need to act to preserve stability. Of course, another agreed. We would need to cooperate with the international community. Show that we're responsible leaders. And any rewards that might be offered, Padrino said slowly, would be shared appropriately. The men nodded, no one said the words, but everyone understood. The bounty had turned Venezuela's entire power structure into a potential conspiracy. Don't miss this detail. Back in Washington, CIA Director Burns briefed Biden on the developing situation. Mr. President, our intelligence shows massive instability in Maduro's inner circle. We've intercepted communications suggesting at least 3 separate plots to capture him. 3? Biden leaned forward. In just 24 hours? $15 million is a powerful motivator, sir. And Venezuela's economy is so destroyed that even wealthy officials are desperate for hard currency. Do we know who's planning what? Not entirely, but we're monitoring closely. If any of these plots seem viable, we can provide support. Intelligence, logistics, whatever's needed to ensure success. Biden frowned. I want Maduro arrested, not assassinated. Make that clear to any potential conspirators. Sir, with respect, we can't control what desperate people do. The bounty is out there. What happens next is beyond our direct control. Then we better be ready for chaos, Biden said. Because if someone actually kills Maduro trying to collect that reward, Venezuela could explode into civil war. 3 days after the bounty announcement, the first attempt occurred. Maduro's motorcade was traveling from Miraflores Palace to a military base for an inspection. 6 armored vehicles, 40 guards, multiple routes planned. But Colonel Roberto Mendez knew the route. He'd helped plan it. He stood on a rooftop overlooking the highway with a satellite phone in his hand. One call to the CIA, and American Special Forces would intercept the convoy. He'd be $15 million richer by morning. His finger hovered over the dial button. Then he thought about his sister. She worked in the palace. If this went wrong, she'd be executed. His parents lived in Caracas. They'd be targeted. His daughter was in school just 3 blocks from here. $15 million. Or his family's safety. Roberto lowered the phone. The motorcade passed beneath him. Maduro survived without even knowing he'd been in danger. Roberto went home and drank until he couldn't think anymore. That's when everything changed, but not everyone had families to worry about. The chef Maria was single. No children. Her parents were dead. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. On day 7 after the bounty announcement, she prepared Maduro's lunch personally. Roasted chicken with potatoes, his favorite meal. The poison was in her pocket. Tasteless, odorless, deadly within hours. She'd gotten it from a doctor who owed her a favor. She stood in the kitchen, the plate in front of her, the poison in her hand. All she had to do was sprinkle it on the food, serve it, walk away. In 12 hours, Maduro would be dead, and she'd be calling the American embassy. Her hand trembled. Maria, a supervisor called. The president is waiting. She made her decision. The poison went back in her pocket. The food went on a tray. She delivered it to Maduro's office. He barely looked at her as he ate. Just another servant, another invisible person. Maria left and cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes. She couldn't do it, even for $15 million. She couldn't kill another human being. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. But General Padrino could. On day 12, he called a secret meeting. Not at the palace, not at a military base. At a private home owned by a shell company that couldn't be traced. 5 generals attended, the most powerful men in the Venezuelan military. Gentlemen, Padrino began, we need to discuss the future of Venezuela. You mean the future without Maduro? One general said bluntly. I mean, Padrino replied carefully, that we need to consider all scenarios. The Americans have made their position clear. The international community has abandoned us. Our economy is destroyed, and now our own people are plotting against the president. So we should plot too? Another general asked. We should prepare, Padrino said. If Maduro falls, by coup, assassination, or international arrest, the military must be ready to take control. To prevent chaos, to negotiate with the Americans, and collect the bounty, someone said quietly. Padrino nodded. The reward would be divided equally among us. 3 million each, enough to ensure our family's security for life. How would we do it? The first general asked. Padrino pulled out a folder. Inside were detailed plans. Maduro trusts me. I can get close to him. On a day when he's vulnerable, perhaps during one of his publicity stunts in poor neighborhoods, we stage a rescue from an assassination attempt. But instead of rescuing him, we hand him over to American forces waiting at the border. The border with Colombia? Yes, the Americans have assets there. Delta Force. We deliver Maduro, they arrest him legally, we claim the reward and blame foreign intervention. The generals looked at each other. When? One of them asked. 2 weeks. April 30th. There's a planned rally in Maracaibo. Perfect opportunity. Maximum chaos. Minimum witnesses we can't control. Now what you're seeing is nothing. But Padrino didn't know that Maduro's paranoia had grown exponentially. The president had installed secret listening devices everywhere. In meeting rooms, in private homes, even in the bathrooms of his generals. That night, Maduro listened to the recording of Padrino's meeting. He sat in the dark, alone, listening to his defense minister, his most trusted ally, planning to sell him for $15 million. When the recording ended, Maduro called his personal security chief. Not Padrino, someone else, someone who hadn't been at that meeting. Arrest General Padrino, Maduro said quietly. Tonight, quietly, no public announcement. On what charges, Mr. President? Treason, conspiracy, planning a coup. Maduro's voice was ice. And arrest the other 4 generals who were at that meeting. Get them before they can move against me. Sir, if we arrest 5 generals simultaneously, the military might revolt. Then we'll deal with a revolt. But I will not be sold like a commodity to the Americans. April 29, 2020. 2 a.m. Armed security forces surrounded General Padrino's home. They expected resistance. They got none. The house was empty. Padrino was gone. So were the other 4 generals. And 20 of their most loyal officers. And enough military equipment to arm a small army. They'd known the raid was coming. Someone had warned them. By dawn, Padrino released a video from an undisclosed location. People of Venezuela, he said, wearing his full military uniform, I speak to you as a patriot, not a traitor. Nicolás Maduro has become a criminal. He has destroyed our country. He has enriched himself while children starve. And now, he has placed us all in danger by turning Venezuela into a narco state. He paused. The United States has offered $15 million for Maduro's arrest. I intend to collect that reward. But not for personal gain. That money will be used to rebuild Venezuela. To feed our people. To restore our democracy. I call on all loyal Venezuelans, military, police, civilian, to join me. Help me capture Maduro. Help me end this nightmare. Together, we can save our country. The video ended. Venezuela erupted into chaos. But the really shocking thing is, half the military sided with Padrino. Half stayed loyal to Maduro. Within hours, Venezuela had 2 competing governments, 2 armies, and an active civil conflict. In Washington, Biden's worst fear had come true. Mr. President, Blinken said urgently, we need to make a decision. Padrino is asking for American support, air cover, intelligence, logistical support. If we help him, we're picking sides in a civil war, Biden said. That's exactly what I wanted to avoid. Sir, if we don't help him, Maduro might win. And then we're back to square one, except now Maduro is even more entrenched and even more hostile. Biden looked at the situation map. Venezuela was dividing in real time. Cities declaring for Padrino, other cities staying loyal to Maduro. The military splitting, the police splitting. What are our options? Biden asked. We could provide covert support to Padrino, Burns suggested. Intelligence sharing, weapons, training, nothing that officially involves U.S. troops. Or, Austin interjected, we could stay neutral and let them fight it out. Eventually one side will win, and we negotiate with whoever's left. How many people will die while they fight it out? Biden's voice was sharp. Austin had no answer. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. Biden stood up and walked to the window, just as he had when making the original decision. I put a bounty on Maduro's head to pressure him, to make him vulnerable, to bring him to justice. I didn't intend to start a civil war. Sir, with respect, Garland said quietly, any action against a dictator risks this kind of instability. We knew that when we moved forward. Knowing the risk and living with the consequences are different things, Biden replied. He turned back to the room. Here's what we do. We reach out to Padrino through back channels. We offer conditional support. If he can capture Maduro alive, and I emphasize alive, we'll provide intelligence and logistical support. But no weapons, no troops, no airstrikes. And if he can't capture Maduro alive? Blinken asked. Then we reassess. But I will not have American hands directly killing Maduro. We're a nation of laws, not assassins. The team nodded. And get the UN involved, Biden added. We need international observers, humanitarian corridors, protection for civilians. This could get very bad very quickly.